Okay.
It is Indiana in the Morning, presented, as always, by First Commonwealth Bank here on AM 1160 WCCS and 101.1 FM. Her name is Julie Kemp. Julie's from Waxhaw, North Carolina. Let's say good morning. Hi, Julie.
Good morning.
It's good to have you on the air with us. You are on your way right here to Indiana for the Good Friday Community Breakfast, which is going to be, of course, on Friday, April 14th, and it will be happening at the YMCA. And Julie, have you ever been to this area before in the Pittsburgh region?
This will be my first time.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you're in for a great experience as you come here to Indiana, the birthplace of Jimmy Stewart, of course, and nice little town, and you're going to meet some wonderful people. But your story is a story all about wonderful people. You have been taking your story all across the United States for quite some time now.
Yes, we have, yes.
Tell me about the basic foundation of why it is that you came into this amazing ministry of yours and the story that you tell people and that we can expect to hear at the Good Friday Community Breakfast.
I started sharing our story because when I was going through my loss, there was no grief support for me to get help. And so I became a grief share facilitator so that I could help others who were struggling on their grief journey.
And your grief emanates from a terrible car accident in which your husband lost his life and you almost lost your son, and that is where your story turns absolutely amazing. Could you tell our listeners exactly how that all unfolded? And because one of the things when we hear your story is we're not sure of time frame. When did this happen? When did that? And, how did all of that play out?
It was a typical Sunday morning, and my family, we were on our way home from church, and we almost made it home when we were T-boned at an intersection by an ambulance. The ambulance was not on call. There was no flashing lights or sirens or anything. And my husband did not make it. And they did not, when the rescuers were trying to get me out of the car, they did not know that my son was also in the back seat until one of them saw a child's shoe. And that deepened the search to find his body, but he got stuck under his dad's seat and his dad's body from the impact. And so they had to get Landon out of the car through the trunk. And when they brought him out, he was not breathing. And so they started working on him right away. And while they were doing that, someone else had already called for the chopper to take us to Carolina's Medical Center. Landon and I were airlifted to Carolina's Medical Center. And en route, he died the second time. They were able to bring him back fairly quickly because they had the crew right there. And then once we got to Carolina's Medical Center, they rushed him to the neurotrauma intensive care unit and me to the emergency room. And that's when Landon died, the third and the longest time when he was at Carolina's Medical Center.
He was out for how long?
He was out for a few minutes. I think they said like 7 minutes the third time.
Mm-hmm. When Landon eventually was revived, and I don't know if I would use the word permanent basis, but when he was back, fully back, and you had to break the news to him about his father, something amazing happened.
Yes, we were, after he came out of the coma, and he had a lot of rehab treatments that he had to go to. And the counselor kept telling me that I had to tell Landon why his dad hadn't been to the hospital to see him. And so I asked Landon, do you know where your dad is? And his response surprised me because he said, yes, I know where he's at because I saw him in heaven. And so later, Landon was, giving me more details. But when he died, at the scene with his dad, and they were pulling him out of the trunk. He was in heaven with his dad, and he saw him there.
He was 9 years old at the time.
He was 8. He was
8.
Almost 9. Yes, he was 8.
Mm-hmm. And as he was telling you this amazing tale, what was going through your mind?
I was comforted and saddened at the same time. I was comforted knowing that he had that as his last memory of his dad. And then I was saddened because he had the rest of his life without a dad here on earth to be with him, because his dad was his best friend. So it was just a lot of mixed emotions. And then the second time that Landon died, when we were on the chopper, he was we were again just sitting in his room, and he's like, "Oh, Mom, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I saw your other 2 kids." And that's when I knew that he knew exactly what he was talking about, because before Landon was born, I had 2 miscarriages, and I never knew what they were. They didn't tell me. And so I asked Landon, I said, "Well, what were they?" And he told me that one was a boy and one was a girl. And while he shared that with me, I had complete peace, because I'd never put it together with all of the, the overwhelming worry of losing a husband, being a single mom, and a child in a coma, that my 2 babies were reunited with their dad. And so that was just a peaceful feeling, putting that together, that they were all together in heaven.
It has been about 20 years since this occurred.
It has. It was in 1997, in October, yes.
In those 20 years, you and Landon have been able to take your story all across America. And I don't know, from the beginning, when you first started doing this until now, I'm sure that the stories that you hear coming back to you from people in either similar circumstances or some other circumstance that might not mirror it, but might have some of the same elements to it, I'm sure that those stories minister to you as much as you're able to minister to them.
It does. It's just, just confirmation that God reveals heaven to some here on earth, to confirm it to the rest of us that, even though we haven't experienced, like I haven't experienced it personally, I believe. And it was just a confirmation, just to any doubters out there, that there is a heaven.
Mm-hmm. Has Landon been able to, I'm sure he has in the 20 years, has he reflected upon it to the point where more things have come to mind and he's been able to assimilate that and to communicate those to you as well about his experiences?
It's really hard for him to describe. He can't find the words. And sometimes he'll see things that will trigger, a moment, or he'll hear, a praise song, because he remembers hearing the angels sing. And the thing that sticks out to Landon the most from his experiences was the third time when he died, when he was at Carolina's Medical Center, is the only time that he saw Jesus. He didn't see him the first 2 visits, but the third time he saw Jesus. And Jesus told Landon, "You have to go back to earth and you have to tell others about me." And so Landon has, over these 20 years, he has been very, very bold in telling others about him. Even though there's been doubters, there's been skeptics, he's told everything from atheist to priest and everything in between. And one thing that I learned from him is we can't worry about who doesn't believe, because Landon, he just keeps reminding me, Jesus told me to tell others. And so he's doing his job by telling others. And so that just sticks out to him the most, is that he has to do what Jesus told him to do.
The Good Friday Community Breakfast comes at the YMCA here in Indiana. Julie Kemp and Landon will be with you then, yes?
Yes, he definitely will.
And people will hear this amazing story and be blessed by it once more coming up on the 14th. Julie, thank you so much for being with us here this morning on Indiana in the Morning.
Thank you very much.